Alright guys, before I start this video, before you guys watch, I've been streaming more because it just fits with my schedule better, and I will still do as much or as many YouTube videos as I can and get those out to you, on current topics, on the bigger stories, and really stories that, I deem to be reportable, which is really a lot, but I'll try to do as much as I can. But if you guys want to see what I'm doing, I'll start cutting videos from my streams and posting them here. So I react to them live now. I usually go live around 12 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, 12 or 1 around there. And then I'll just react to most news live, and then I'll obviously cut them and then put them here. But in terms of my, regular YouTube videos that I've been doing, I'll also do those as well. It just won't come as nearly as often because I have stuff going on as well. But if you guys enjoy everything that I do, please leave a like and subscribe. A lot of new subscribers after the last video with Lucas, so I appreciate all of you. And yeah, thank you.
Absolutely upset.
There is outrage in Oklahoma right now as a teenage rapist who could have gotten almost 80 years in prison for violent attacks instead doesn't have to spend any time behind bars at all. He is.
Remember, this guy is like, his dad used to be the Oklahoma State. His dad was like the head of football operations, I believe his exact position. So like, yeah, that probably played a role. I mean, he's from Oklahoma. I mean, dude, this is horrendous. I mean, these girls were literally 2 years younger than him. He's 18. The girls were like 16, and he choked them and raped them and whatever, and whatever else he did. So that's terrible. But yeah, let's keep watching. I mean, to get off scot-free, bro. Tell me, you people in my comments, in my previous video, tell me that white privilege isn't a thing now. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. Tell me white privilege isn't a thing. Tell me, oh, the institutions aren't racist. Dare a black kid try to do this. And then you got people like TK, one state below him, and he didn't even pull the trigger on anybody. He's serving life. And girls in that situation, in the same situation as him, that they both didn't pull the trigger, they got out scot-free. Another thing that I've been saying for a long time, bro. Now, I did look into the TK case a long time ago, but I remember it. I mean, I know he didn't pull the trigger. For him to get like life is wrong. Okay, he got way too much time. Like he should not have been locked up that long, or serving that long as time when other people in that same case, the white girls, didn't get anything, or they might have had like time served or something like that. I can't remember exact sentences, but they got way less than what TK had. TK did run from the cops and all that, but like, dude, life? I mean, he did some fucked up shit, but like, if you letting those girls scot-free, I mean, that's a problem too. But that's off topic, and that's a whole nother case. So let's keep watching this.
Being called.
But you people in my comments, tell me that it's not real after this video.
The new Brock Turner, as you have parents, community members, at least one lawmaker, they are crying foul over this sweetheart deal. We are going to be sitting down with a content creator and reporter who has been covering every aspect of this case to try to figure out what happened here. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. A high school baseball player out in Stillwater, Oklahoma, just accepted a deal that means he won't spend any time in prison after pleading no contest to some of the most heinous charges there are. Charges like rape, forced oral sodomy, assault and battery by strangulation. According to graphic arrest affidavits that were filed in Payne County, Oklahoma court, then 17-year-old Jesse Mack Butler targeted at least 2 teen girls that he dated. And many of these accusations, they are right out of a horror movie.
2 girls.
Now, before we dig in,
oh, that cut out, but 2 girls, and he's going on scot-free. This is bullshit.
That he dated. And many of these accusations, they are right out of a horror movie, okay? So now, before we dig into this, before we dig deeper into these affidavits, I got to tell you a little bit more about Butler, who turned 18 in August. So he attended Stillwater Public Schools, played for the high school baseball teams and other regional outfits. This is according to reporting from the Daily Mail. Stillwater is the home of Oklahoma State University, and Butler, by the way, comes from an influential sports family. The Daily Mail reports that his father, Mac Butler, was the OSU football team's director of operations from 2001 to 2004, and then again in 2009 until 2021. He was then hired as the assistant athletics director for Stillwater Public Schools. Butler's mother, Jackie Butler, is a coordinator for Cowboys sports properties at OSU. This is again according to the Daily Mail. Family members of Butler's victims described him as seemingly like, quote, the perfect boyfriend when he dated their 16-year-old daughters. But these affidavits, they reveal that behind closed doors, Butler was essentially a violent predator who refused to be told no. I'm going to take a look at this paperwork, okay? Now, we're not going to be getting into some of the more graphic parts of the affidavits, but this will give you an idea of the grave seriousness of this case. Now, according to the first affidavit, a 16-year-old identified by her initials LS told a school resource officer in September of 2024 that she had dated Jesse Butler for a few months earlier in the year, and that during that time, he physically and sexually assaulted her multiple times, including trying to rape her inside his car outside of an ice cream shop the previous February. The affidavit reads, LS reported she yelled and told him no repeatedly and tried to push him off of her, but was unable to overpower him. LS reported Butler told her he was sorry for what he had to do, but he had to do it. LS recalled hyperventilating because Butler...
Wait, let me read that. Wait. LS reported she yelled and told him no repeatedly and tried to push him off of her, but was unable to overpower him. LS. Okay, LS must be the girl. That's why I was getting confused. LS reported Butler told her he was sorry for what he was about to do, but he had to do it. Okay. LS recalled hyperventilating because Butler intended to have sexual intercourse with her and she did not want to. Oh Jesus, man. I don't know. I think he said that it was from the previous February. I wish he would have just said that before. I don't know if this is just now coming out. I don't want to assume anything. I'm just gonna keep watching. This is a thing though, like where I'd be like, she's claiming that this happened. Of course, investigate that and then see if she's telling the truth or not. Of course, but just so you guys know, like. Since now that he obviously took the plea deal, obviously like he can't defend himself and or he's not trying to go to court because obviously he knows he did it and this is like the sweetheart deals. I can safely say that he did this shit. Like he was doing all of this shit. Like I believe what she is saying. So there is no gray areas or anything like that. What you would be dealing with if the case was like ongoing or something like that. This kid is a monster for sure. So just by the way, let's keep going.
Sexual intercourse with her, and she did not want to. Now, according to LS, a woman must have heard her screaming because she walked up to the car and interrupted them. LS told police that Butler told her that if the police came, they would both be in trouble. He reportedly took her back to his home where her car was parked and then tried to rape her again. The affidavit says LS told Butler she needed to get home, but Butler pulled her on top of him and told her, "You're not going until I'm finished." LS said she was eventually able to get out of the car and get home. Now, the victim told police that Butler forced her to perform oral sex on him in the parking lot of a Planet Fitness despite her saying no. And unbelievably, during the assault, the affidavit says that Butler took a call from his mom, told LS she had to be silent or he would hurt her. There's another assault that happened at Butler's home and what's referred...
Could you imagine? I advocate for no violence on this channel. Imagine if my daughter called me and told me what just happened to her. Do you know what would happen? Listen, I don't have to say what would happen on this YouTube channel. I don't know what would happen on this. I don't know what would happen to that kid if my daughter called me and said that happened to her. Okay, I don't know where that kid would be right now or what would happen to that kid, but it probably wouldn't be friendly. I tell you that right now. That is horrible. That is horrendous, bro.
...to as a movie room.
Jesus.
According to LS, she believes Butler's mom heard her crying and saying no as Butler tried to have sex with her, and she apparently came to the door asking if everything was okay. But it seems that's as far as this mom's interaction went, because the affidavit just says that Butler drove LS home at that point. Except he didn't take her all the way home. No, he apparently parked nearby, tried to sexually assault her for nearly 2 hours. The affidavit says that when she finally managed to get to her house, he followed her and continued trying to assault her inside of the home. And the abuse just kept getting worse, because according to LS, in late February of 2024, Butler reportedly strangled her because she refused to have sex with him. So the affidavit says, quote, LS reported she was hyperventilating and then recalled her vision being blurry and she was dizzy. She reported her head immediately hurt and she was confused about what occurred. She was scared of Butler, but when she regained consciousness, Butler was laughing at her. Following this incident, LS reported she had a handprint and injury on her neck. Now, LS was examined by a sexual assault specialist, confirmed the teen had been a victim of sexual and physical abuse. This is according to the affidavit.
Okay, so they confirmed that she was. Okay, but I want to get to this. I'm sorry I keep pausing. It's only been 5 minutes, but he's already named like a million crimes that this kid has done. Like, it's been 5 minutes, and this kid is literally like the Antichrist. Like, dude, this dude. So first off, when he said he tried to, I don't know if I can say that word on YouTube. I think I can, but he tried to rape her or sexually assault her outside of an ice cream shop. They got home. He tried to do it again. Apparently the mom heard it, came in there and said, "Is everything okay?" Apparently it's okay. And if she said anything to the mom, then he'd hurt her. Okay. Then later on, she got in her car, and then she tried to go home or something like that. He got in the car. And then when he was driving her home, he pulled over and tried to do it again. I don't know what "try to do it again" means. I don't know if he did it again, or if he's done it 3 times in a row now. And like, yeah, that. And then when they got home, he followed her like in their driveway and tried to do it again. Again, I don't know what tried to do. Like, did he do it? I don't know. But like, dude, this kid is fucking like a terrible person. Horrible. My lord. But keep going.
I gotta say, by the way, this is a prime example of what we try to do here on Sidebar. We're trying
He
to
got off free too. He got off free. That's crazy. By the way, I just had to say that. But
and the legal system. We're trying to understand the law. And I have to say, I am so happy that this show is sponsored by legal experts, Morgan & Morgan, right? This is America's largest injury law.
I'm not doing it.
Started dating. So Butler and LS, they apparently broke up in March of 2024. He started dating KS, and his disturbing and aggressive behavior, that allegedly continued. You have a second affidavit that details assaults that KS says she suffered during this relationship. Quote, KS reported she engaged in sexual intercourse with Jesse Butler throughout the term of their relationship and did so to prevent physical aggression from him. When KS told Butler he was hurting her, he did not care and would not stop. Because of his aggressiveness, she was scared to tell him to stop. She expressed she was scared not to do what he wanted because of how physically violent he had been with her. KS reported Butler had left bruises on her hips from squeezing her so tightly. KS reported the intercourse was extremely aggressive, but she reported she quickly stopped fighting it because Butler would overpower her and hurt her to get his way. KS explained she learned what to do and not to do to avoid being hurt by Butler. According to KS, Butler would pin her down and she was physically unable to get him off of her. KS stated this would often lead her to hyperventilate, which Butler thought was funny. So not only is it horrific, but you're seeing how these accounts are very similar to one another. Now, according to this affidavit, Butler also strangled KS, and so bad, so long, that she eventually passed out. She reported she woke up on the floor of the living room in a house where she was apparently house sitting, and she claims Butler was livid that she wouldn't have sex with him in someone else's home. But after strangling her, KS claims, Butler raped her 3 or 4 times. Later that same week, KS reported that Butler strangled her again. And if it's possible to even believe this, it was an even sicker power play. The affidavit says KS stated Butler told her he wanted to strangle her so he could film it on his phone. And if you can believe it, police found that video on Butler's phone, which showed him choking KS until she passed out. What these girls went through, what they endured, is just unimaginable. But then you get to the consequences, and that too.
You know who needs to be, you know who needs more of a punishment than this guy? It's the prosecutor. They need to prosecute that prosecutor. That prosecutor is the worst prosecutor of all time. You give this kid a plea deal, or let me watch the full video. I don't know if the prosecutor offered the plea deal. I don't know if the judge reduced the sentence. I don't know what happened. I'm not a lawyer, like I said, but this kid getting off scot-free is the crime of the century. These are all things that you would read this type of stuff in like Ted Bundy's documentary. Like, I mean, Ted Bundy's documentary might be like on par with this dude's story here. I mean, dude, it's not that bad. Let me say that. It's not that bad, but this kid's a monster, bro. A monster. He said 3 or 4 times. Right there 3 or 4 times? Hell nah, bro. Fuck no. That's crazy.
Is seemingly unimaginable. Why? So Jesse Butler was charged in March of 2025 as an adult with 10 felony counts. We are talking rape. We are talking attempted rape, sexual battery, assault. He was later hit with an 11th charge when he apparently violated a protective order. He was facing almost 80 years in prison for these crimes. He ended up entering into a no contest plea, okay? This is where everything changes. This is where the big shock comes when he entered that plea in August. His case had apparently been downgraded from adult court to youthful offender status. And because of that, he would spend no time behind bars. So instead of his 78-year prison sentence, that was deferred. It's deferred as long as he complies with his, quote, rehabilitation plan. According to News Nation, until his 19th birthday, Butler has to do these daily check-ins, these weekly counseling sessions. He has a curfew. He isn't allowed to be on social media. He has to complete 150 hours of community service, and if he does that, no prison time. The district attorney's office released this statement per the Daily Mail. The youthful offender sentence imposed against Jesse Butler requires him to complete his rehabilitation plan successfully, including an aggressive schedule of therapy with a specialist in sex offender treatment, and should he fail, he faces reclassification as an adult and a sentence of 10 years in prison. So this complete 180 on punishment for this apparent sexual predator, as you can imagine, has caused quite the outrage in the city of Stillwater, and now across the world as the story spreads. There are calls for the judge who approved this plea deal, Special Judge Susan Worthington, to be reprimanded, to be removed.
Absolutely.
And even the state's legislature could possibly be getting involved here. Oklahoma State Representative Justin J.J. Humphrey appeared on Ashley Banfield's show on News Nation this week, and he is fired up.
But I keep coming back to how it happened. Sir, do you think that the courts are corrupt? Is that how you think that this deal was maneuvered?
Hey, he better say yes. And I know he's a Republican because they don't have any Democrats in Oklahoma. But he, as a conspiracy theorist, it's got to be corrupted. It's not a conspiracy, bro. It's something happened. Something happened there. Investigation needs to happen now. That's the real crime. Obviously, that kid is the real crime, but this is a big crime, too. How can he go off scot-free? That cannot happen. That can never happen. That's ridiculous. Please, bro, tell me, he told me, like, it's got to be scam. It's got to be a scam. It's got to be an inside job. Is somebody's paid off something? Because there's no way in hell a real mind thinks that, oh, yeah, this kid can get a rehabilitation schedule and he can do community hours and the kid's fine. He did this to 2 girls. I do. It's crazy.
Oh, absolutely. We're working on grand juries right there. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think we're going to see more cases like this. I think we're going to see, I'm working on a case that may be as shocking as this. We're trying to get the Payne County grand jury because of this kind of action. And so, yes, I mean, absolutely, there's a lot of problems. We're meeting with, great resistance from their court and from our Oklahoma government. I mean, we're meeting with great resistance on trying to get that grand jury and hold these people accountable. So again, until they're held accountable, the laws are there, but what do you do when they don't follow their own rules, when they don't follow justice. They took an oath to justice. Does this sound like justice? And again, here's what I'm saying.
Nope.
Shouldn't we investigate? Should we not investigate? Was there political favor done here? Was this done as a result because of positions the father has or because people knew each other? I would think that it would warrant investigation. And again, it's all allegations. We don't know what happened until we go in and investigate it. But
Nigga.
golly, I'm mad.
Nigga, something happened, bro. Fuck that. Something going on right there. That's something right there where you look at it, it's like, something's for sure not right. Something's 100% not right. This dude getting out scot-free, and this is supposed to be like a Oklahoma down south Republican state, no crime, hard on crime, tough on crime, especially in today's environment. When they're sending National Guards to Democrat cities because they're not tough on crime. And they just let this kid off scot-free? Oh, hell no. Something's off, bro. Something's off.
It is all get out, and we're trying to
Something's
have
off,
other
man.
things there in that same county investigated. I mean, very, very corrupt things going on in this county and really across the state. There's all kinds of things.
So I want to bring in Justin Shepard, host of Just in the Nick of Crime. So happy to have you on here to talk about this. You've been following this case closely. You helped shine a national spotlight on this. How did you first hear about this case?
So actually, a friend of mine, another mutual social media creator, he goes by Missing in USA. Literally, his content is all, for the most part, missing people and stories, and they work behind the scenes and actually research this stuff. He lives in Stillwater, and he sent me this story, and that night I was actually getting ready to go live on YouTube to talk about three different cases, and I was like, after I read that story, I was so enraged that I was like, I'm going to scrap what I'm talking about right now because these cases have been, cold for years, and we're going to talk about this. And I was infuriated. I called a friend of mine who's an attorney. I was like, hey, can you hop on right now because I want to talk to you about some stuff, ask some questions. So she did as well. And then from there, apparently I opened the floodgates in Stillwater, Oklahoma. From there, I got it sent over to the people over on News Nation. It's like, hey, you guys might want to talk about this. But basically, Dan had initially sent me that story and was like, something needs to be done about this. But when you see somebody getting charged with the charges that he had, and we can get into those a little bit more here in a moment, but originally being sentenced to 78 years and then walking away with 150 hours of community service, that is just a miscarriage of justice. There's just no other way to look at it.
I haven't seen anything like this,
Me either.
anything near this. And from your research, from speaking with experts, from speaking with attorneys,
Dude, fuck that judge. Fuck that judge, bro.
What's the rationale here?
Imagine their families. Imagine their families, bro. Fuck that judge. As much as I hate that kid, fuck that judge. That's terrible.
What have you learned here about how this is even possible? Because I will tell you, there is a lot of speculation online right now that the Butler family may have connections that may have helped him get this so-called sweetheart deal. We couldn't confirm that. What can you tell us?
So I've spoken with some of the families as well of both victims who came forward against Jesse. There is a third victim who, if she hasn't come forward, but can you blame her when you look at this as the justice that they get? So there's a third victim. And kind of like you said, the speculation is that...
Wait. A third one? A third one, bro? Is that what he said?
Well, of both victims who came forward against Jesse, there is a third victim who...
Bro. Nah, that's crazy. A third one. Now, like you said, I agree, bro. How can you step up? When women say like they're scared to step up, dude, I believe them 100% these days, bro. Like, look at this story. They did this blatantly obviously. The dude earlier said that the cops seen the video, and they get treated like this. Hell nah, bro. And then bro, dude, and then when you know how people be saying like, oh, they should step up, and why did it take so long for them to say something? And then like this is the verdict that you get, right? I mean, like, dude, and they probably know it's through their head like their father is the um, what is it? The head of so where they live, like probably the biggest thing in that city is the football team, right? The college in there. I mean, I live in the same situation. The biggest thing in this little town is that college, 100%. That is the thing. And then when they run the head the head of the football operation, that's like a top position. That's bigger than the mayor in towns like this. Uh, like the head of football operations, like that's very top of the top because colleges don't have owners, right? So yeah, I mean, how could you come up and you think? I mean, it's probably going through their head that it's rigged and shit like that, which it probably is. There's some connection. Like, come on, there's some connection. This dude is the head football coach in a college town, small college town. He probably knows somebody that maybe they don't know directly, but this dude definitely knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. You know what I mean? 100%. He can find that out 100%. And of course, he's gonna go through hell and back to get his son a good deal, and this is the best deal of all time. So that's definitely a thing that could be happening. So yeah, I mean, I don't blame him for stepping up as well, but man, I'd do anything to get this kid behind some bars, bro. I mean, this story is probably the worst story I've heard in a long time of a dude getting off scot-free. He was facing 80 years and then he got community service. What the fuck?
She hasn't come forward, but can you blame her when you look at this as the justice that they get? So there's a third victim. And kind of like you said, the speculation is that Jesse Mack Butler's father is a man by the name of Mack Butler. And he was the head of football operations at OSU for, I forget how many years, but for a pretty long time. He's, kind of a staple in that community. And when we're talking about Stillwater, Oklahoma, we're talking about OSU, for people who don't know, Stillwater is the town that Oklahoma State University is in. So there's a lot of things tied to that. Mack Butler, it seems that he grew up there. His wife currently works for OSU. His daughter works for the public school system there. He was apparently had been hired as like a coach of some kind for Stillwater High School as well. So somebody with deep-rooted ties into the community, and that then leads you to the judge in this case, or one of the judges in this case, Judge Susan Worthington. Between her and her father, the Worthingtons have had a hold on that bench for over 50 years. So while you can't necessarily say definitively that, hey, there's this connection here because he's deep-rooted in football, she's a judge, they all grew up in the same town, that there's this kind of connection, but it's not really many difficult mental gymnastics to make that leap, right? That, hey, this is a town that requires the college, needs the college to survive. It's very deep rooted.
Basically, what he's saying is all you need is two brain cells to rub together to put two and two together. That big football coach and head of operations knows people that knows the judge, and make the connection. I mean, all you need is two brain cells to rub together. I promise.
System that they're very much supportive of OSU for this whole kind of thing to be very close knit, and that's kind of what's being speculated, to the point that even it's now gotten the attention of one of Oklahoma's lawmakers, Representative J.J. Humphrey, who's also running for lieutenant governor. I'm actually going to be speaking with him later tonight, a little bit more details, but.
Yeah, and if you can, I don't know if you've spoken with him already, but Representative Humphrey is talking, my understanding is about a potential investigation into this. Is this true? Is there going to be a formal investigation into what happened here?
It sounds that way, yeah. He kind of looks at it from the same way. He was telling me that he's got a lot of background, in the court system and investigation before he got into politics. And he said, basically kind of the same thing that we were just talking about, that can he say definitively or can he prove right now that there's a connection? No, but his exact words, but it sure as hell smacks like it, And so he's like, it's worth an investigation. So he's thinking about, wanting to put a grand jury together to do an indictment possibly, the conversation we had, which we'll go a little bit more in depth, and I don't know if that could bring additional charges against Jesse, because when you look again at the litany of charges, there are some that should have been on there that weren't. Like, in my opinion, as not a lawyer, why he wasn't charged with attempted murder when one of the girls was near death for what he did. And so those are kind of the conversations. But he feels that not just Stillwater, that entire county, Payne County, and then other places in Oklahoma, there's a lot of, he said it flat out, there's corruption, and he believes that this is no different than that. and it merits an investigation.
What is the community saying? What is the community feeling about this? Are they up in arms about it?
Yeah, they are. So there's a protest they're planning sometime next month. I think November. I want to say November 5th. But they're planning a protest, but they don't think that it's fair. And you know what's been very interesting about this is that since, like I said at the beginning, I opened the floodgates on this. Since I started talking about Jesse, I've gotten no less than 20 to 25 messages, whether it's through Insta or direct email, or even Messenger, of people saying, "Hey, here's my experience with Judge Worthington. Here's my experience with this DA. Here's my experience in the judicial system in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and Payne County." And what's been interesting about all these stories, I've kind of started to compile them together in to one thing so I can kind of analyze them. And a lot of these, not all, but a lot of them have the exact same players in every one of them. There's another case, for example, that Judge Worthington and I think Michael Culling, don't hold me to the last one, was on it. And basically, this was a guy, he was a teacher, got arrested for sexting a 13-year-old girl, was sentenced to 10 years. Not just that, he was also stalking her, trying to break into her house. This is a grown man,
13.
An educator. And he gets sentenced to 10 years, which sounds great, right? He does 8 months and gets out.
Oh.
While he's out, he rapes a 16-year-old girl. The family gets an EPA, an emergency protective order against her, protective order. He violates it 11 times. Each time, Judge Worthington gives him a $500,000 fine. The girl doesn't feel safe. She wants to get out of that town as quickly as she possibly can as soon as she graduates and just be out of Stillwater. And this is another case. I'm actually probably going to be doing something today on it or tomorrow, but this is another case that, again, it's the exact same players, and there's a lot of them.
Is this Judge Satan? What the fuck? This judge has let out a grown man sexting a 13-year-old or not let him out. Basically, he did 8 months. He was sentenced to 10. He's now let off this kid that's raped 3 girls, like five, 6 times each of them, probably more than that. That's just what I'm hearing from these stories. He's probably done it a million times, damn near. He almost did it to one where she passed out on the floor, and whatever else she let go. Dude, it needs to be an investigation now, bro. The FBI needs to look into it. They're looking at basketball players for rigging games. They need to look at this. Okay, this dude his dad is the head football whatever of the current Oklahoma State football team, and the motherfucker just gets off. It's the same city, same town, and of course he knows somebody, dude. Of course he knows somebody. I'm not beating around the bush. I'm tired of that. I can see when it's an actual problem. Okay, I can see when it's actually rigged. Okay, something's not right here. Something's not right. I don't know what else to say. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but this is not right. Something's not right here, and it's not hard to tell.
With it. And I was telling Representative Humphrey about that as well. This is not just a one-time singular incident when it comes to these predators.
Yeah. First of all, you talk about violating a protective order, okay? My understanding is something happened with Butler violating a protective order, and I think that would, speak to a lack of concern, a lack of consequences.
Correct.
You just mentioned in this other case. What can you tell us about that?
So obviously, because the victims were minors, we'll leave their names out. But for one of the victims, he wouldn't stop harassing her, wouldn't stop calling her, wouldn't stop threatening her, despite the fact that the court told him not to do it. And he didn't even get, he got that charge, but nothing really happened for it. When you're at that point and you're facing the charges that he's facing, you have to take that very seriously, especially when there's strangulation charges on this. Yeah. And even though there was 2 charges that happened, there were 3 strangulations on at least 2 of the victims. So one of those victims too had to have surgery. I don't know if you've seen the pictures on that, but had to have surgery to correct the damage that he did. And her medical physician said, I think that he said 30 seconds from death, but let's just say, he basically said that she is very near death on what he did. And this is also a guy who strangled one girl to the point of unconscious. Each strangulation was a point of unconsciousness. And one of those points, once she woke back up, he had set his camera up because he wanted to film it. He did it again to the point of unconsciousness to this girl, caught it on camera, and actually when they searched his devices, they found that video. So it's not like hearsay, it's actually there. So when you have that, and you have, young 16-year-old girls, who had to just go through this horrific ordeal. You look at pictures of Jesse Butler. He's an athlete. He's a big guy. It's an issue of he can easily overpower these people, using tactics of fear, coercion, things like that, based on what we've heard. What are these girls supposed to do when you don't have a judicial system that's protecting them, when he blatantly disregards what the court has said? I think that speaks volumes, and I think it speaks even more when the courts do nothing about it.
And I want to highlight something. So one of these victims, talk about the victims, one of the victims submitted a victim impact statement to the court for the sentencing hearing. And according to KOCO, an Oklahoma outlet that reviewed the court paperwork, she wrote, "I've had to explain bruises, explain silence, explain why I started isolating from people who love me. You didn't just strangle me with your hands, you strangled my voice, my joy, my ability to feel safe in my own body." The Daily Mail spoke with the mother of one of the girls that Butler attacked, calling her only Amber. She told them, "It's appalling. I received similar punishments for breaking curfew when I was a teenager. It's a complete injustice to these girls and to future victims because, unfortunately, statistically, it won't end. Not only are you giving a slap in the face to those survivors, you are potentially putting other women at risk by not holding him accountable." Now, Justin, some people are calling Jesse Butler the new Brock Turner, because back in 2015, Turner was this 19-year-old star swimmer at Stanford University, sexually assaulted a woman while she was unconscious. He was convicted in 2016 of 3 charges of felony sexual assault, but at his sentencing, you had Santa Clara County Superior Court Judge Aaron Persky sentenced him to just 6 months in jail, followed by 3 months of probation. He was required to register as a sex offender for life. He ended up being released after just 3 months for good behavior. The judge in that case, by the way, ended up being recalled by local voters in 2018. The case influenced California's legislator to require prison terms.
I've never heard of
for
that, but
rapists
that's
whose victims are
disgusting.
unconscious,
Again,
changed
dude.
the definition of what rape means to include digital penetration. So there was an outcome there, but I feel like that's a fair kind of comparison, no?
I think it's a great comparison because you have, rape by instrumentation, which is pretty much the same thing as, digital penetration. And
no, I think this one's worse because he did it like fucking a million times, and that was only one time, but that's still terrible. He should have went to jail for longer, for sure. And this kid didn't even have to register as a sex offender, as from what I've seen or what they have said. So I mean, this is a worse situation and a worse sentencing that he got. Worse meaning like easier crime or easier basically let off easier. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a lot worse, but yeah, keep going. That's also bad though. That I've never heard of that, but yeah,
I agree with you, and I think that with Brock Turner, who, by the way, I have been told, I've not researched on my own, that he has changed his name to Alan Turner so that I guess he can survive a little bit better. That was another travesty, just because these girls, they have to live with this for the rest of their life, what happened to them. And these people get off scot-free. What kind of message does that send? And I think that when you look at somebody like Jesse Butler, I agree with you. And, you've covered enough cases, I've covered enough cases to know that people like this, they reoffend. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I know that I believe that we both know some of the same people. And Gabby Petito's family, they've really gone into domestic violence awareness and things like that, changing the laws. Well, Jim Schmidt, her stepdad, had told me that when somebody puts their hands around your neck, there is a 750% increased chance that they will kill you. So for Jesse Butler, somebody who has now comfortably strangled girls at least 3 times to the point of unconsciousness, filmed it, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen when he's now in college and all of this stuff is expunged from him? Which, by the way, I don't know if you were aware of that. You probably were. That when he turns 19, less than a year from now, all of this stuff is expunged. It's all
that's what I was
gone.
wondering. I was like, he didn't even get put on the sex offender list, dude. That's fucking crazy.
About except for what it's found on the web, but
because he got put in a child court, I guess.
He's at college, and now he's got alcohol. He's got access to things like roofies. Inebriated states of some of these girls who are partying that should feel safe. What's going to happen when he's there and he does that and he takes somebody's life? Who's going to be held accountable then?
And look, that's the importance of reporting on this and keeping it in the public eye. So it's not put, in the waste bin and no one knows what happened here. Something real happened here. And by the way, you and I cover these cases all the time. You know how difficult it is for survivors to come forward and explain what happened to them if there's not digital evidence to support it, if they don't have corroborating witness accounts, if there's not surveillance footage it's mostly based on their accounts. So not only coming forward and going through the process to explain what happened and going through the legal process, and now this is the result. Justin, that's why the work that you do is incredible. It is really incredible, and I can't highlight what you do enough. From what you've seen so far, how are these victims and their families doing? I mean, how are they responding to this? What was their reaction to all this? I explained it a little bit, but for the best that you can tell, I mean, how are they moving forward?
It's interesting. So when you talk about the victims, I've spoken with Amber. I talk to her, almost daily at this point. And what people have to remember too is that when something like this happens, it's not just the girl that's the victim. It affects the entire family, right? So now you have a mom and a dad, advocating for their child, and people always say the same thing. And I say it even too. And I'll take a step back. I even told Amber, I was like, I don't know how you and your husband, y'all are better people than me, because I don't think I could just let somebody walk. Like, I would be okay catching charges. And she was like, we had that conversation, but we need to be on this side of some gates so that we can continue to help and advocate for.
That's what I was saying, bro. Telling you, bro. I said that at the beginning of the video. I don't know where I would be at, and I don't know where you would be at, but it probably wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say, bro.
But it affects the entire family. I think that despite all of this, what I'm learning is that I've not spoken to the girls, obviously. I'd rather speak to the parents because they're young. But from what I understand from the family, they are not letting this guy take their voice. They're not letting him have the power over him. And I think that that's a pretty incredible thing, because that's what a lot of this is about, right? It's about the ability to have power and control. And I feel too that with this story now getting more of the public attention, because originally it was being swept under the rug, that they also feel so much more supported, not only by their community, who's now more aware of this, but somebody said yesterday, made a comment on one of my videos, that, I saw this on our morning news report in Oslo, Norway. And so
Really?
this made this made it all the way overseas. And I think that for these girls, they finally feel like, even if the court's not giving him justice, he can't escape this. He can't run from this.
Yeah. And by the way, just so I know, have you heard anything from him, his family, his side? Have they reached out to you at all or anything like that?
No, but if they did, I would talk to them. I'd let them have that opportunity. But no, they haven't. My guess is they're probably laying pretty low right now. What I have heard is that there's a group, a Facebook group, and I would send a couple screenshots of it, where the family was reaching out to the administrator of that Facebook group, basically talking about how they're being threatened and how they're being harassed and things like that, and that basically that this was a big thorn in their side, is how I will word that. That's my words, not theirs. But I'm not saying that people should harass or threaten people at all. I don't agree with that, but for it to be a thorn in their side, good. I'm okay with that.
Well, I think more answers are warranted, and I'm very curious to see what happens with your conversation with Representative Humphrey, to see what this investigation will look like. Justin, for anybody who's out there wants to see more of the work that you do, not just with this case, this story, but other stories that you cover, let everybody know where they can find you, because I think, again, you do really important work.
Well, thank you. So I'm on pretty much every platform you can think of: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Substack. And it's all the same name, Just in the Nick of Crime. So just kind of how it sounds. And I also have a website, justinthecrime.com, which will lead you to all of my socials as well. So that's kind of where you can find it and what we do. And I do different things on all the platforms depending. But, this kind of stuff, this type of awareness is important. It speaks for victims everywhere. And if I can, too, plug this, I'm also working. This case kind of got me fired up a little bit, to the point, we cover a lot of things like this where you see predators get plea deals like this. And right now it's kind of a blanket statement, but I started a petition, which in 2 weeks has broken over 50, I think it's at 54,000 signatures right now, to stop these predators from getting plea deals. And I realize that that's a very broad statement, which once we have enough signatures, we can whittle it down to get a little bit more specific. But if anybody wants to sign that, that's linked through any of my bios as well. And once I get to 100,000, we can start taking it to some of the bigger representatives.
That's great. That's great. Justin Shepard, thank you so much for taking the time. And just on
I would.
a different note, great lava lamp. Nobody does the.
I was looking at that earlier, but yeah, dude, I'm about to sign that right now. I'll sign that right now, bro.
Guys, thank you for watching the video. Again, if you would leave a like, subscribe, comment, everything helps my channel grow. Again, there's a lot of you that's been subscribing lately, especially off the last video. Thank you for that, and welcome to the Progressive Playbook. But again, make sure you guys check out their channel as well. That I'll have that in the link in the description for the original video. They did a great job breaking that down. So yeah, you guys should check them out and watch the full uh, link to the video if you'd like. And I forget his name. The guy that was being interviewed also has a YouTube channel, and he's reporting more on it. And then hopefully they have something done here, because what happened to those girls were atrocious, and those crimes were not good for justice. I'll say that. But yeah, again, guys, thank you for checking out the channel, and yeah.